Hello. Yes, it's me again. Okay, so this vlog's going to be about the monster. Now, so think Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? But also left brain and right brain as well. Okay. I think the Hulk as well, right? So one of the reasons about doing the work, one of the ideas I had in mind, and when I started doing the work, it sort of came to mind, was there's this, I think it's from the Hulk, that 70s series, late 70s series with the guy who turns all green and goes really big and splits his genes. I've just got this feeling, a memory of the beginning of the program, and they're talking about how there's all this untapped energy and power and strength in the human body that we normally don't have any access to. And they give an example of this woman whose child, she'd been in a car accident, and a small child was trapped underneath a car, and she used one hand to lift the car up and use the other hand to pull her child out from under the car, right? So hence this, the idea of the Hulk and how he can access all this latent energy and strength and power and stuff. A similar thing with Jekyll and Hyde, So what you're really doing is, like, the subconscious has got all this power and energy and awareness, right, all sort of stored away that your normal conscious mind doesn't have any access to, except under certain situations where, like, for example, hypnosis can do it, unleash some of that energy, or extreme situations when you get a load of charge of adrenaline, you can, that can release it. But most of the time, unless you really train like a weight trainer or something like that, you don't have access. But even weight trainers, you'll find that, that woman who lifted a car up probably wasn't like a really big, bulky weight trainer, but they still lifted half a car up. The point is, one aspect of the work is to find ways to liberate and gain access to all that latent energy. Now, an idea about this that can try and put some perspective on it is that one idea is that we used to have a lot more predatory, or dangerous situations occur. Maybe wolves or bears. We'd come across bears in the wild, or woolly mammoths. Saber-toothed tigers, Tyrannosaurus rexes. Rhinoceroses and stuff. But nowadays, our lives are much more sedentary, much more subdued. There's hardly any real danger to speak of that we're going to have to run away from or use our massive amounts of strength to defend ourselves, So it just never gets used. Whereas, because we don't experience danger, our bodies don't experience real danger almost ever. So, it doesn't get exercised, that other aspect of ourselves, that emergency self, So what happens is then all that energy is just going to waste. It's just sitting there. Your whole life, it's supposed to be there as your reserve energy for when there is an emergency. But there's almost never any emergencies in your whole life. So all that energy is just sitting there doing nothing, right? So one aspect of the work is to find ways to liberate all that energy so you have access to it. Now, one of the problems is a lot of our society and cultures are set up in a way that deliberately keep it all contained. They've got ways of keeping you locked in your left brain, locked in your small self, your little slave-like self, so you don't have access to that energy, right? Except in extreme emergencies. And they don't like you to find out about it if they can, and how to do it. This is like the church. There's been methods of how to gain access to this stuff. I mean, in the East, they talk about it like Kundalini in India. But even there, they've still got like a mainstream society that frowns upon messing around with that kind of thing. Hi, Snow. Yeah, it's nice weather. It's not quite as hot as it was last year, but it's still pretty nice. Not a lot of nice sunny weather. I've been sweating quite a lot today in a good way, you know. I might tell you a bit about that in a little while. I'm just going to finish what I'm saying about the monster first, though. But make more comments if you want. I'll get back to you. Okay, so you're liberating this energy, this Kundalini energy, this subconscious energy. So there's a potential danger. If you're not used to it, it's like sort of having 1 or 2 extra Red Bull and vodkas and maybe a big medium or moderate dose of magic mushrooms all in one go, so that when you feel like a bit intense, you know, it can be a bit like that, you know, like you've got a little bit too much testosterone going on, you know, and maybe a bit of like you've had a bit of amphetamine or something. Not that I do amphetamine, but I've tried it once or twice and I've seen what it does to other people, you know. So that's a bit about the monster. There's a song I like, a kind of a bit about the monster. It's by Captain Beefheart called Tropical Hot Dog Nights, which is worth listening to. I think it's on Shiny Beast, the album Shiny Beast, which is called, I think, Trout Mask Replica or something in Britain, but for some reason called Shiny Beast in the US and other places. Okay. So yeah, it's like this is your monster self that you want to get in contact with. It's like all that energy that in your subconscious that you want to liberate. Now, part of the reason I've been getting interested in this and trying to work ways out of how to harness it in a safe way, because you can access it by accident, like a Kundalini awakening, by doing maybe drugs or having a strange experience, you know, messing around with like probably Ouija boards or something, you know, and get into trouble. So one of the reasons I've been taking my time doing the work is I want to be able to do this like in a very straightforward, very well understood, safe way that is reliable and productive, and I'm getting what I want out of it. You know, I'm getting access to that energy that's going to just otherwise sit there dormant, and be able to use it to supercharge my life, you know, and make my life a lot better and happier and stuff, right? So that's kind of one of the ideas of doing the work. One aspect of this as well is that when I start getting a sense of well-being and the agents want to come back and try and rob me off of it, which is what they tend to do, I've got my monster self on the go, you know, my mojo working. So I'm going to be able to fight Agent Smith and bash his head in, you know. Metaphorically speaking, of course, you know. Some other stuff quickly while I'm at it about like the religions like Buddhism, Christianity and Islam, for example, the main 3 religions, and probably Judaism as well. When I've looked back in history at these religions, when they start off, like for 300 years, you can't find this in history books, by the way, right? But you can work it out by reading between the lines and looking at these things. When these things start, what happens is there's a kind of explosion of it's like a spiritual way that everybody seems to find it really useful and starts adopting, right? And of course, from where it starts, it goes in different directions. The message spreads. People develop the knowledge and the power of it in different ways, right? And after, say, about 200 years, 300 years, there's all these different offshoots of, like, say, Buddhism or Christianity or whatever. And then some, but these people come along from the other world, the agents. They send scouts over to, like, an agents to come and infiltrate these religions and basically they say, oh, look, we need to like make it all the same so that when everybody knows it, because it's like they actually, what they do is they stir up trouble, and then like they create a problem, and then they offer the solution of standardizing these different aspects of this original culture, right? So you say, for example, Christianity, you get all these different offshoots of Christianity in the first couple of 100 years, right? And then the Romans come along and say, right, we can't have all you people calling yourselves Christians but doing different things. We need to organize it and come up with a definite Catholic universal form of Christianity, so everybody can understand, and there's no strangers. We're all going to be in the same boat, you know. We're going to conform. We're going to be uniformed, you know, to make it better for everybody, you know. And then they stop everyone doing what they're doing. They're going off and being free and, you know, getting enlightened and having a really great life. They stop that and make all these rules that everyone has to follow. And if anyone doesn't follow those rules, they burn them, right? They make a big fire and put them on the fire and burn them until they've all got rid of. And if anyone then sooner or later, everyone says, no, okay, we'll do it your way. We don't want to be burned. And then everybody becomes a Catholic, you know, out of the whole of Europe. A Roman Catholic. And these are controlled by like the inorganic beings, or like the watchers, or the fallen angels, or the devil and his minions, whatever you want to call them, agents. You know, they're not human. They just want to control humans and farm our awareness. We build up these energies, and then they harvest it. You know, and they rob us of our sort of soul energy and our conscious energy, and turn us into like zombies, right? Ah, dear. So that's one of the reasons I'm learning to be like this sort of like. Another thing is Nietzsche's Superman. You know, that's another version of it. You know, or like Neo from the Matrix. You know, I'm just going to develop like super like godlike powers. You know, so that if they come and try and like, you know, cause me trouble, I know how to. I've got the energy to sort of fend them off and defend myself against them, because they're unscrupulous and, you know, they pass themselves off as angels and stuff, but you can see what sort of world they're causing, you know. And they're the people behind the government, they're the people behind the school system, you know. It's the devil trying to control this world. He needs to be like outed, shown up for what he is, you know. And people need to be aware of what these things are, where they are, how they operate, and how to stop them and how to defend against them. Because I'm sure that, you know, it's quite straightforward. If you've got the knowledge, if you do the work, you know, they're your bitches. You know, you can turn them into your little bitch. You know, that's the whole point of why the devil and that they rebelled, because they didn't want to bow down to humans. You know, they've been created to be our servants, and they don't want to be, and they want to turn us into their servants instead. But that's not their destiny. Their destiny is for them to be our servants, you know. And it's just tough. We're stronger than them ultimately. That's why they always try and remain hidden. They stay in the sort of like the gloom, in the darkness, in the shadows, because they're really quite pathetic, really. And we can stamp all over them if we really put our mind to it and use our real powers. Okay, Snowy, what do you want to say then? Are you still watching? I've just been going and getting concrete blocks to sort out my bedroom. That's why I'm a bit sweaty. In my dreaming, because I do my dreaming to find out things. I wanted some concrete blocks to put under my bed. A few days ago, I just sent the idea out, and I walked around the corner today, and I found these concrete blocks exactly where my dream told me they were going to be. But they're quite heavy. I've just been bringing them back. I've got to get 6 of them. I brought 3 of them back. So I'm a bit sweaty. Anyway, that's the video for today. Okay, well, I think I'm going to stop it now because I've got more work to do. I've made too many long videos lately. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye. Well, it's stopping. End it.